Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Career Growth Podcast. I'm your host,
And
Kalis.
I'm your host, Angel.
And needless to say, we are content people. That's our whole game. And content is all around us in every form imaginable. And very much like us, those who create the content we consume are very diverse people. But there's a force bringing them together. And this would be global content communities that surpass borders, both digital and physical.
Yeah, Kaylis, I am a content creator myself. Really proud to say that. It's only been 2 years, but I really, really enjoy doing my job. So today we want to talk about the rise of these global content communities and the future of content creation, which is, something that I'm super passionate about. We have today CEO of Mofilm, Michelle, and Strategic Operation Director, Anisha. Mofilm is a content creation agency based in New York. Hello, both. It's so great to have you on our podcast today.
Hi, so lovely to be here.
Thank you so much. So, Michelle and Nisha, you, Mofilm took two of our interns last winter, right? And from Saudi Arabia. So, in your opinion, how can an international internship benefit a student or a recent graduate? Michelle, would you like to share your opinion first?
Well, I always believe that getting outside of your comfort zone, getting outside of the bubble and the people and opinions and cultures that we live in make us all more aware and well-rounded and better for the world. So I would argue that an international internship experience would be the pinnacle of opportunities to really stretch and take in so much information from other cities, other cultures, other people that you might not have the opportunity to
Yeah.
connect with. So definitely a great opportunity if anybody has it to snatch it up.
I love that. What about you, Anisha? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, definitely echoing what Michelle just shared over here. I actually remember going about a similar journey early in my career, whether it was doing an internship or even studying abroad. I just generally think that being able to do something like that internationally really does give you a different perspective on how the world operates and different ways in which people live and think. And really, that just makes you a just really more well-rounded and I think just conscious and mindful individual.
Yeah. I agree with that because I study here in the UK and then I did a few internships in between and I remember the culture shock I had working in a UK company and it was fun because I actually showed them a lot about Chinese culture and how I am and how I go about doing tasks and I love that everyone is very, very welcoming and willing to learn about my culture and willing to show me their culture. So that part I really, really appreciate. But Anisha, you were saying earlier that you had similar experience, interning at the beginning. Can you share us how your journey started and you becoming who you are today and working at Moving today?
Yeah, I'll keep it short because I think there might have been like 11 internships that I did
Oh, you
early
did?
early in
You
my
go,
11.
girl!
career.
Oh, wow.
Did a lot, and really that started in high school. I would say, and it I really always felt that internships were so valuable because it was such a great opportunity to explore a field that you might be interested in or curious about before really like investing in it. And so early in high school, I was interested in education, for instance. And so I even the sort of part-time jobs that I would take on, I would really be mindful of how that might ladder into a career I might eventually want to have. Um, and so like I did tutoring, for instance, and I started realizing like, I don't know if this is exactly for me, but there was an element of management that I started to really enjoy. And then once I got into college, I was really interested in music business. And so I did an internship for the local radio station, for instance. And then I started to get into marketing and advertising, and I interned for a local ad agency. And so every single one of those opportunities really got me closer and closer to what I realize that I really do love. And my background definitely, I mean, I certainly took some turns. I was way more embedded in marketing and market analytics before I joined Mofilm as a producer, and then from there grew into an operations role. But I think whenever you're just starting off, is just being really mindful of every decision that you're making, so it ladders into a larger goal that you have for yourself.
I'm learning. I'm taking notes. I feel like on that. What about you, Michelle? Like, is there any particular career moment that you had that you feel like helped you to get to your role
I mean, I think
today?
it's constant exposure to different people, different ways of working. Much like Anisha, I dove right into my freshman year of college, reaching out for an internship. I was actually studying pre-medicine at the time, called up an ophthalmologist, see if he needed somebody to help him in a lab. It was actually a couple of years into college where I made a big pivot into business. And so did everything from working at a big bank to running ad sales at a newspaper. And that's kind of how I landed with my dual business degree focus between marketing and finance. And then over the time after that, connecting with people, networking, and grasping any opportunity to help learn and grow has been key. Going back to the theme of being able to not only have international experiences, but also work with people from all different parts of the globe really exposed me to just other ways of working, other ways to slow down and be really mindful about how other people operate, ways of thinking, approaching processes, and so getting as much exposure as possible, especially early in the career, helped make meaningful connections that unlocked new opportunities that I might not have otherwise even been aware of over time. I did not start in a world that ever would have looked like landing at a creative agency, content creation agency. If you had asked, the 23-year-old version of me, just getting started, but it was really making those connections and kind of learning where the industry was going, learning where opportunities were, and starting to identify what I was truly passionate about and connecting with more people in those worlds. That led me to this time and place that I'm at inside of Mofilm.
As two very diverse career paths right there. But you're both at Mofilm. You both find yourselves at Mofilm today. And let's talk a little bit more about Mofilm, because this is a very unique model. And I know the purpose is to, enable brands to create content globally. But how does it work? Could we get a sneak peek into what goes on behind the scenes,
Yeah,
literally?
absolutely. So, I mean, it really does start with the core of our model, which is the creative community. And we're really proud to be able to say that we represent over 10,000 creatives around the world. And I will preface that any creative around the world can join our community. It's as simple as going to our website, mofilm.com, signing up, and most importantly, completing your profile. Because this is the information that we are able to leverage to match you to the right project and the right brief that we're working on. So our in-house producers are masters at curating and just vetting creators for opportunities that are on the horizon. And they do that by following certain criteria that helps them with the process. So I would definitely say the first one is geography. We believe in supporting creatives local on the ground. And so we'll never fly crew around the world for any production. And so we're always finding the talent that is local to where the productions need to run and the stories need to be told. And then on top of that as well, I would definitely say that another criteria is just looking at like shared lived experiences. So for instance, if we're working on a baby formula brand, we really want to tap into creators who are parents themselves, who have gone through the feeding journey themselves,
True.
because they're really able to provide just a perspective and insights that I just, sometimes get overlooked by a brand team during their market research. And they could really add a lot more authenticity and value to the campaigns that we're
Yeah,
working
to
on.
build on that, I was asked a question this morning. I was just talking about this, and the person I was speaking to really, we ran out of time, and they said, if you have any more time, I'm just really fixated on this phrase that Mofilm uses to describe itself, saying that you're inclusive by design. And in order to expand
Yeah.
on what Anisha mentioned, when you look at the typical creator talent that gets hired for some of the largest global multi-divisional brands and the different types of content they make, whether it's for social or on their website, the typical profile is going to be a well-connected, perhaps not so diverse creator that has had a lot of advantages throughout their career. And yet, what we found is that when you simply reach into communities to build content for that community, by that community that has shared experiences, not only is the resulting content more authentic naturally because of that shared experience, but it also happens to be higher performing. And that's only possible when you look outside of the realms of those, same creators that are always getting hired, and just giving that one chance to a high quality, ready for that next big break creator that might not have otherwise had that chance to get exposed to that brand in any other process. And so we always try, if we're going to put a bench of 5 of the top directors that we think are just perfect, a perfect filmmaker for, let's say, a national television campaign, if we always make sure that at least one person on that bench is a woman, at least one person on that bench is a person of color, and so on and so forth, they will, what we find is repeatedly they get hired at a much higher rate than industry benchmarks. And again, the resulting outcome, when you look at that careful matching, is always higher performing and more authentic, and then those brands come back for more. So that's really a part of our value system and a part of our DNA that has made us so proud to do what we have done. And we always consider ourselves successful when those creators that we've made those matchmaking opportunities with are far too famous and far too busy to take our phone calls anymore. Then we know we've done our job.
Oh, that's amazing. Oh my gosh, I love it. For anyone who's listening, if you want to be a creator, if you want to start out, go to Mofilm. There's a tab on top says, I think it's a creator community. Click that. Put in your application if you're looking into becoming a content creator. As you can see, Mofilm is very inclusive, and they look into your strengths and match you with the right company who are looking to publish really authentic content. I hope you can see how passionate I am on this, Michelle, because I am also, I feel like I'm in a minority, and I wish I can speak more for our people, because when I say our people, I mean like either woman or woman of color, or someone who study abroad, someone who's studying to work abroad. And most of the content that I'm currently doing for capital placement is also helping anyone who want to get their first job, and to get that advantage point. So I'm very passionate about this, as you can see.
Well, for anyone that's listening and not watching, I clutched my heart. You made my heart smile. And yes, I mean, you can look at the bench in this conversation. And yes, the representation is everything from all walks of life, genders, backgrounds. I love it. And the content speaks for itself from here. Thank you, Angel.
Yes, exactly that. Period. So this one
The Gen
question,
Z.
the Gen
For
Zs,
sure.
here we are. We love representations and showing up authentically,
Absolutely.
right? So we have this one question that get asked quite often by our candidates, because we were just saying about applying as a content creator. But when you are like in uni, or when you just graduated and you want to be a content creator, there's a few routes that you can choose, right? You can be either in-house creator like me, or you could be a work for a creative agency, or you could be an independent creator that works as a freelancer or take your own clients. So what is your take on this, Anisha? How would you advise someone who are looking into the best option for themselves at this very
It's a
moment?
really good question. I think it's really important to evaluate what is most important to you, because there's so many other factors that you have to consider in this decision making, like whether you want flexibility in your schedule, whether you want to expand your skill sets as a business owner, whether you like networking, whether you are okay going into an office or you prefer to work from home, if you want to have coworkers that you don't necessarily get to choose who they're going to be, or if you want to build a team yourself.
Mm.
These are all things that I think are important to consider, because the responses to these questions are really going to help you evaluate where you probably will fit in best. I knew, for instance, for myself, that as a creative, I was, I needed stability. I just knew that in my mind, I didn't want to have to figure out where my next project was going to come from. I just wanted to be sure that I was going into a place. I was going to get to work on a lot of different brands. So I was going to get to flex a lot of different muscles on working on so many different brands and organizations out there. And I also knew that I wanted to surround myself with a lot of different people to learn from them. And that was just my take. And frankly, ask me in 5 years, that could be completely different. I might tell you that I'm ready to start my own business, or that I actually think that a freelance route is more exciting for me because I want to have more flexibility in my schedule. So I think you just really need to take that step back and evaluate what is important to you.
That is really, really good advice. I would agree, because I wanted to be a content creator and I didn't know what to do. So I just do my own video that nobody watches, and, it landed me this job. So guys, and also you can sign up to Mofilm's, creator community if you want to start somewhere. That's really good opportunities there. But that's a point that, I want to bring up, which is, there's a lot, like, lots been changing the past few years with, like, being a creator, or even with market trends, or customer behavior in general, or even what brands want, right? And Michelle, you've worked with tech companies like Google and Meta, right? You have. What are some of the changes you've seen with content creation and even content consumption
Oh
over the
my
past few
gosh. I mean,
years?
I'm going to date myself, but I joined Google in 2007. So I actually was there during the YouTube acquisition when it went from, yeah, a lot
Oh
of those
wow.
early videos where, I think our teams were just trying to prove that YouTube was a little bit more than dogs on skateboards at that time, to the explosion of, yes,
And
content
it's true.
creation and all that it is,
Yeah.
and all of the other competing platforms that didn't even exist at that time. I think the evolution has gone through many phases over the course of my career, from really kind of starting to see so much content explode that platforms like YouTube, like TikTok, like Snap now have so much content. No single person could ever sit down, hit play, and watch everything that is out there. You would literally spend the rest of your life and a couple of lives after that watching nothing but content because of the proliferation of what's out there. Right. And
Yeah.
so I think
Yeah.
in terms of
Mhm.
creative best practices, and what that means for creators today, is, to Anisha's point, like, building that content that is
Yeah.
most authentic to yourself, that will resonate with the communities that you're trying to reach, is going to help cut through the noise of all of the content that is out there. Consumers are hit with so much that when it's authentic and it really resonates, that is what people are going to be drawn to. I think we're also seeing the rise of AI and the integration of that into these various platforms. There's still a lot to see in terms of what that will mean, but especially in the world of podcasting, the ability to drive efficiencies with editing and correcting voice when you're going back into the post-production room, and just some of these platforms out there and what they can do to support content creators, and moving faster and reducing the costs of having to outsource some of this, is really exciting. And that's, kind of newer to the scene. And we're seeing a lot of these platforms also start to consider what types of AI tools can they integrate natively into the platforms to make it easier for creators as well. So yes, the world is constantly evolving. I don't think that it's settled into one specific area yet, but if there's one growing space, being able to build content, film content, create content, edit content, there are jobs that don't even exist yet. Prompt engineers to learn how to take content and really kind of manipulate it using the tools, but bringing that storytelling and creative vision to build something, whether it is through voice or sight and sound and motion. The world is still such a big oyster for us to see what will happen next.
That is genuinely super wholesome. It's a wholesome way of like viewing it. I'm sorry. It got me in a bit of a trance because now I'm just imagining. Because it's a, how do you say, how did you put it? It's a people powered platform. That's what Mofilm is. And it's also been called the world's biggest creative department. And it's truly amazing that all these diverse people from all these different communities can come together and, in their own ways, they're basically informing what content will be, what it is and what it will be, which is just wonderful. Which is why I just want to sort of like understand, how did you go about building this community of creators? Because I don't think this was an easy task at all. And like you said, you have these in-house producers who are fantastic at picking out the right folks. I'm sure you did there was like extensive training and whatnot that went into that. I would just like to know more about this.
Well, Anisha's been here longer than I have, so I'm sure she can speak to the foundations and the beginning. But it isn't always on task. I'll say that. And like I mentioned, in the world of AI, there are still creator roles that may not exist yet that would be amazing additions to the community. So when I came in, we were still talking a lot about the metaverse, which has not gone away. I think AI just kind of took a front row seat because it was more tangible and easier to execute in the near term. But making sure we kind of reached out to the community and identifying, do we have any that have skill sets in building these communities and in this metaverse world on the blockchain? That was something that was important. AR, VR, again, a newer technology that has kind of hit the surface, then kind of petered out for a little bit. And now we're starting to see other applications come back that make sense, that are more accessible to people. It's being utilized actually in medical training. So again, the creator opportunity, and especially as technology evolves in its different ways, shapes, and forms to create, ideate, get people to engage, is always on. So it's in my perspective, from when I came in almost 2 years ago, it's an always on task to see what content do people want to engage with, what is coming, what's evolving, and how do we find the best talent out there that wants that opportunity to showcase their skill sets there. But Anisha, is there anything you want to build on that from just kind of the beginning and even getting to that 10,000 strong? Because I know that's such an important part of our backbone.
Yeah, I mean, Mofilm was founded over a decade ago, about 15 years ago, as a crowdsourcing site, and the first of its kind too. So this, we sort of got our foundation at the onset of digital media. It was when brands were not yet necessarily used to creating content for digital platforms. And so they started to realize that they needed a volume of content to be able to share on these digital platforms. And so that's how Mofilm got their start as a crowdsourcing site, to be able to cater to those needs. Needless to say, we also did a lot of broadcast campaigns during this period as well. But it was during a time of, it was just like a different landscape for content creation. And so with that, we would put briefs out, and then any creator from around the world could respond to that brief. Like, they could pitch on it. And so with that, our community really grew quickly too. I mean, I remember earlier in my days at Mofilm meeting filmmakers who were like, oh my gosh, I got my start on Mofilm. You guys gave me the break that I needed
True.
to be able to go and direct or produce,
Mm.
even bigger campaigns
Anyway.
afterwards and later in
Mm.
my profession. I've even met some
Mm.
clients, like people, similar to the question that we discussed earlier, that some people who initially were freelance directing and then had decided to go in house or work for an agency, and then I'll get to meet with them, and they say, I'm part of the Mofilm community. I pitched on that project for Coca-Cola back in 2007, and so they're all really familiar with it. And so it was through those years that we really got our foundation of 10,000 strong, and really there was like a ripple effect. It suddenly people started associating Mofilm to like almost like film school. It's like the non-film school experience that they had, and so we have continued to grow our community from there with lots of events and networking opportunities as well. And then it's really on our producers too to continue to look at who's out there. And we absolutely do encourage creators to also get in touch with us and introduce themselves to us too, because we're also always looking for new creators and new talent to add to the community.
Yeah, and education
Mm-mm.
is a big part of
Yeah.
that too. Just for one last
Mm.
build there, when we saw where AI was going, we pulled our creator community, and more than half weren't sure or were pretty afraid that AI was going to take over their jobs. I'd argue we worked really hard to set up different
Mm.
training modules on our YouTube channel, on the We Are Mofilm handle, and just posting it for free, right?
Mm.
That community engagement is something that we take seriously. It is our responsibility to democratize the new technologies and help train that community. So I would argue Mofilm has the largest AI trained creator community because of that always on engagement and education that's really core. And really every agency should be doing that. It's where the future is going. It is accessible, and there's no reason why others shouldn't be helping the creator space and creators out there get up to speed with this evolving technology, because anybody that doesn't get up to speed
Mm.
will be left behind.
Yeah, I remember that. I
Absolutely.
think both
Yeah.
Kayla and I were like, is AI taking over our job? But I was like, but in marketing, it's genuinely it's actually very human aspects. Like with marketing, it's about emotional connections. It's about how we communicate with our customers. I genuinely don't think we'll get replaced because there's one thing about us that AI can never have, and we can use them as a tool. It's going to help us to work more efficiently. But I just feel like how we create and the ideas that we have in our mind cannot be replaced. And I remember Michelle, you said earlier that you will look at the trends and what might be needed for the clients, and then you're gonna go source content creators who might be able to match that need. And obviously, there's a change in what the clients are looking for, what the markets are looking for. But is there any scenarios where you feel like the creators that you source actually helped Mofilm's innovation and creativity?
Oh, 100%. Sometimes we actually have to take a step back and explain there's a unique nature of our model. Sometimes when you think about the creative space and pitching a brand, we think about Don Draper and Mad Men, and they have the creative idea and they're up there pitching it to the brand, and the brand picks the idea that they want. We do not use that approach at all. It is because we do have so much to learn from those experiences of the creators that part of the process comes later. We look at the stories of the creators, we look at the experience, we look at their skill sets, and then we bring those creators forward. The creative ideation happens. The stories that we would not be able to tell, the things that we would not learn or understand without them, come to the surface when they're actually sitting down, working hand in hand with us, the brands, oftentimes the agency, if
Mm.
the brand also has an agency of record. That relationship is always a process where everybody is learning and growing together, right? We wouldn't
Mm-mm.
be doing what we do if we weren't constantly learning and getting that feedback loop, that this process and valuing the exceptional skills and experiences that the creators can bring that we can't,
Mm.
that we don't know, we can't fake it to
Right.
make it. Like, this is really their
Mm.
creations coming to life. That is also super critical, and in that sort of secret sauce that makes the content work as well as it does and perform as well as it does in the end.
Absolutely. And just to touch, like, I just wanted to touch back on the bit about the AI trained community of creators, because the future of collaborative content creation is changing entirely. And, with the rise of these global communities, could you sort of like give us a bit of an insight, I think, Anisha, into how they're changing or shaping the next generation of content? What is changing?
Yeah, we live in such an age where it's so easy to collaborate with one another virtually. We live in this like remote age where being able to collaborate on a global scale is actually really efficient. I think gone are the days where you had to be living in a specific city to participate in this space and in content creation. And so my advice always is to lean into the tools that allow you to more seamlessly collaborate with one another. I think if you think back at probably 30 years ago when when DSLR started to become available to the market, and there was a whole network of film students who had literally learned their trade on film, and they were reluctant to adopt this digital medium because it was something new. It was something that kind of almost undid everything that they had learned in film school previously. But with the adoption of it, it's created so many new opportunities for them as well. And frankly, when we have emerging technology like this coming to the market, it's not going to go away. So the best thing that you could do for yourself is to just really lean into it and fully embrace it, fully adopt it. Try to be early in these stages as well, because I think that it's gonna really actually add value to what you are able to bring into the market. And always look for ways that you can collaborate with people on a global scale. I think there's so many incredibly talented individuals, and I think as a creative too, when you find somebody that just understands your creative flow, and there's just this synergy between the two of you, just again, lean in and find ways that you guys can continue to work with one another.
You should be okay. Anisha, you can hear us, right? All right, perfect. So, yeah, we really wish we can continue this conversation because I can talk about this forever and we can keep going and going with this. But unfortunately, we are running out of time, and I really hope to get unconventional career advice from each one of you before we finish our recording today. Michelle, would you like to give us a head start? What is your one unconventional career advice you have for our listeners?
Well, if we're thinking about those that are starting out early in their career, I don't know how unconventional it is, other than there is no limit and that you should eat up as much as you can. The importance of networking, networking, networking. I've given talks on this before, especially, not everybody can go to a highly networked Ivy League college, but you can actually recreate that network and those people that can unlock doors for you on your own, simply by reaching out, simply by asking for, a coffee meeting, a 30-minute Zoom, and trying to determine, being very forthcoming about here's why I'm looking for this connection, and here's maybe a value exchange I can provide in my limited capacity early in my career, but looking for advice, looking to just introduce myself, looking to learn from you. 9 times out of 10, people are going to say yes. It is human nature to want to connect with other people, and you never know when that reach out can unlock those new doors for you and unlock that role that you never thought you'd be able to get because you expose people to who you are and the value that you have to offer. So maybe not so conventional, but I would encourage people to just be aggressive about it and look at it in every aspect, inside your organization, outside your organization. LinkedIn is going to be your best friend, and you never know who you're going to meet from there.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people might be shy about reaching out to people, so if you are listening, do it aggressively. That is advice from Michelle. A bit aggressive.
Yeah.
Let's.
Yeah.
Not too aggressively. Not too aggressively. We don't want
In terms of
the police
volume,
involved.
right? Like, what's
Have
the
to have
worst somebody
time.
can say? Like,
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
have time. Fine, moving on.
Exactly.
Yes, definitely
Exactly
don't
that.
talk them over email.
Well,
What about you, Anisha? Do you have one for us?
So this might not necessarily be unconventional advice. Just depends on who you ask or who I'm saying this to. But I think surrounding yourself with people that you can learn from is really what propelled me in my own professional journey. And I think that oftentimes, younger generations have so much spirit and so much motivation. They want to be at the front of the line. They want to kind of go into things, quickly and at a pace that I actually really admire. And if you are able to achieve that, oh my gosh, kudos to you. By all means, phenomenal. But I think for me, some really good advice that I learned early in my career was really to jump in with a team and to just learn and network, because so much of what contributes to your success comes from collaboration and learning how to work with people. So I think really leaning into situations where you have to navigate different personalities and different perspectives and different problems is so vital to your success. These are the types of things
yeah.
that really contribute to your soft skills. It's interesting because a lot of times when I'm looking to hire somebody more, junior in their career, earlier in their career, they always ask me, "What do you want me to gain out of this experience?" And I always say, "I want you to be able to gain confidence in your decision making." And that's really a soft skill that you want to develop really early in your career, because the hard skills will always come. They're always going to grow. You always need to look at what's going on in the market and reflect your skill sets to address that. So for me, it's just get it there, talk to people, and gain that confidence in your decision making.
Getting that confidence in your decision making is so important. I'm still struggling with it. I think I needed to hear this advice a few years ago. You're a little too late, Anisha. A little too late.
It's never too late to start. It's never too late.
Right?
I'll start tomorrow. Tomorrow, as we do. But thank you both for joining us. It has been really great. This has been a very insightful conversation.
Thank you guys so much too. This was such a pleasure. It was so great to talk to you guys.
And thanks for our listeners for sticking with us for this long. Which please do subscribe. Do reach out to us if you have any questions. We're always listening. Leave a like, and also please go read our blogs, because we do put some effort into that as well. So by we, I mean me.
Next week. All right. Thank you so much, guys. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.